Take a moment and think about the first time you got a real salary. Not a part-time job, not a side hustle, an actual salary with direct deposit and benefits. Maybe it was $45,000, maybe 65, maybe more. And when you saw that number, you probably thought things are going to be different now. And for a little while, they were. But here is a question worth sitting with. If your income has grown over the years, and for most people it has, why doesn't it feel like it? Why do so many people earning 80,000, 90,000, even six figures feel like they're one bad month away from financial stress? That's not a personal failure, it's a pattern. And understanding that pattern changes everything. Let me introduce you to Adam. He's 35, he's been at the same company for over a decade, he earns $85,000 a year, which by most measures puts him in the upper tier of individual earners in this country. And yet, by Thursday of most weeks, he's checking his bank account with low-level anxiety that doesn't quite match his income. How does that happen? It starts before he even touches his paycheck. Federal and state taxes take roughly a quarter to a third off the top. That $85,000 becomes something closer to $62,000 in take-home pay before a single bill is paid. Then comes rent, the car payment, insurance, utilities, subscriptions, maybe student loans, groceries. By the time those obligations are covered, what's left is thinner than it should be. And that's assuming nothing unexpected happens. Here's the important part. Most of those expenses aren't reckless. Adam isn't blowing money. He's living what most people would describe as a normal, responsible life for someone at his income level. The problem is that normal quietly scales to match the paycheck. The gap between what he earns and what he actually keeps becomes almost invisible because the money is already allocated before he ever sees it. That's the first layer of the salary trap, the illusion of prosperity. A lifestyle that looks successful from the outside, but carries very little margin on the inside. A few years earlier, Adam was earning $60,000. It was tighter, but he made it work. Smaller apartment, older car, fewer nights out. Then he got promoted. His salary increased, and almost automatically his lifestyle adjusted. He moved somewhere nicer, upgraded the car, said yes to things he used to decline. None of that is unreasonable. When income grows, it's natural to live a little better. But each upgrade carries a recurring cost. The nicer apartment isn't a one-time decision. It's a higher number every single month. The newer car brings a monthly payment. Subscriptions stack. Convenience becomes standard. So when income rose, expenses rose with it. And by the time everything stabilized, the gap between income and expenses looked surprisingly similar to before the raise. This is lifestyle inflation. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly raises the floor of what it takes to maintain your life. And this isn't limited to middle-income earners. It happens at every level. There are people earning $200,000 a year who feel just as financially fragile as someone earning $50,000 because their expenses simply scaled upward. Income level alone does not determine security. The gap between income and expenses does. Now, it's important to acknowledge something many financial conversations ignore. Not every pressure is self-inflicted. In many cities, housing costs have risen significantly faster than wages. Healthcare is expensive. Groceries cost more than they did a few years ago. Childcare, if applicable, can feel overwhelming. These aren't luxury upgrades. They're the baseline cost of adulthood in today's economy. Structural pressures are real, and pretending everything is solved by discipline alone is dishonest. But within whatever range of control you do have, and most people have more than they assume, there are decisions that widen the gap between income and expenses, and decisions that narrow it. The goal isn't guilt, it's awareness. Once the pattern is visible, it becomes adjustable. There's another mechanism that keeps the trap closed even after people recognize it. When nearly every dollar of income is committed to recurring expenses, you become dependent on that income continuing without interruption, not because you're irresponsible, but because your obligations are sized to match your paycheck. That dependency limits options. Maybe Adam has an idea for a business. Maybe there's a job he'd rather take that pays less now, but offers better long-term potential. Maybe he simply wants the confidence of knowing that if something went wrong at work, he'd have time to think instead of panic. None of those options are available when every dollar is spoken for.
This is what people mean by golden handcuffs, a compensation level that feels too good to leave, even if leaving might be the smarter move. The salary becomes both the reward and the constraint. So what does breaking the cycle actually look like? First, make the gap visible. Take your monthly take-home pay and subtract every fixed recurring expense. Housing, transportation, insurance, subscriptions, minimum debt payments. What remains is your real discretionary income. Most people have never calculated this precisely. They operate on a vague sense of where things stand. Precision changes behavior. Can't adjust what you refuse to measure. Second, decide what to do with your next raise before you receive it. Lifestyle inflation works because it's automatic. Income increases and expenses expand to meet it. Interrupt that pattern intentionally. If income rises, determine in advance how much of that increase improves your lifestyle and how much strengthens your financial position. Even allocating a portion towards savings or debt reduction creates a different trajectory over time. Third, build a buffer and treat it as non-negotiable. Several months of essential expenses in a savings account isn't flashy, it's not exciting, but it is transformative. Practically, it protects you from emergencies. Psychologically, it creates options. When you have margin, you negotiate differently, you think differently, you move differently. Financial security isn't about earning more. It's about having choices. Adam isn't struggling because he failed. He followed the path most people follow. He worked, earned raises, upgraded his life when income allowed it. The trap feels like progress while it's forming. It offers comfort, but not security. The shift that changes everything is simple. Stop confusing the size of your income with the strength of your finances. They are not the same. What matters is what remains after obligations and what you choose to do with it. That gap, however small it is right now, is where financial independence begins. The goal isn't to earn more. The goal is to need less of it, until the paycheck becomes something you choose rather than something you depend on. If this was useful, subscribe for more conversations about income, financial decision-making, and the psychological side of money that most people ignore. And if someone you know is living this pattern right now, share it with them. Sometimes simply naming the trap is the first step to stepping out of it.